Peace, everyone. Here we are again, Foundational Friday. I'm Yuya Asan Anu on the Enlightenment and Transformation channel. And we are now coming with the energy of the Summer Solstice. Always a good time of year, of course, for those of us who love the heat, for those of us who are associated, familiar, and akin to the sun people, or the children of the sun, which is a term that has been used all throughout history in indigenous lands. This idea of being reflective of the sun itself, or being children of the sun. And if you look upon us, then you can look upon our greater parents, which are the sun, or some call the father, or the father, mother earth. But in any event, as always, this is an exciting time because it's a time for learning. When we're dealing now with the energy of the summer solstice, we're dealing with the energy of knowledge. Okay, most important above everything. And it's real key for us to pay attention. But before we get into that, of course, as always, I try to get the housekeeping pieces out of the way first. And the first thing I want to address is another good thing that's happening. We have this Sunday coming, which is June 23rd, 2013. And for those who will be listening to archives or years later, you know, you can look back, and I encourage you to look back on the events that happened, if you've forgotten, but that have happened around this time. Just do a search and, you know, see if any significant events happened in the news or whatever things, or maybe in your own personal life. I know it's not really good to date your shows and things like that, but it's okay, I think, to do once in a while. But in any event, this June 23rd, which is this Sunday, we'll be having a supermoon in the zodiac sign of Capricorn. And the supermoon is when you have those really humongous moons that are so big, they appear as though you could just touch them. And we don't really have those often, especially one this big. This one would be like humongous. So I encourage you all to, you know, at least if not for the scenic value, but it may be a good time for meditation for you to go check it out and, you know, just give you some time to be still. And nature has that ability. That is nature's gift to us, is that it's one of the only things on the planet, if not the only thing, that can actually make us just be quiet and be still and think and be reflective, or not think, but just be still. So this is an opportunity for you to do that. Check out that moon. I definitely encourage you, for anyone who has access to the moon, whether it be through your windows, or if you have the ability to sleep outside, definitely moonbathe this Sunday. Moonbathe being just like you would sunbathe, when you go out and you take your clothes off, or take off as many clothes as is doable, and you allow your body to soak up the rays of the sun. This Sunday will be an excellent opportunity for you to do the same thing with the moon. If you're doing it from within your home, same way, you know, just position yourself near a window where the moon is coming in, take all of your clothes off, and allow your body to soak up those moon rays. It's very grounding, and it's very healing for the emotional body. In our new spiritual training, phase 1, we get, I think it's lesson 4, we get into the healing of the emotional body. Now that activity is so critical, that's associated with that particular lesson. As you know, those of you in the class and those of you not, each lesson or lecture that's offered, there's an accompanying assignment that you have to perform. And of course, later you're judged on your completion of those assignments. Not how well you did or how clear certain things were, but your ability to complete them properly. And of course, as an instructor, I know if you completed them right or if you just rushed through them. But in any event, that's one that you don't want to rush through, because you can't really do anything from a healthy sense. You can't do anything for yourself or for anyone else if your emotions are not right, if they're not in order, if the energy or the water that's inside of you is not in alignment with your ritual, then they're actually going to govern and rule whatever you're trying to do. So if you have anger inside of you and you're trying to do a certain type of ritual, your rituals will always be tainted with that energy of anger. I addressed this not too long ago. I think it was a blog post I did speaking about love is not pain. And you can find that. I put that on either Sadulu House or iwhatarethespiritualgifts.com. But if you go to saduluhouse.com, you should be able to find it. And the name of the post is Love is Not Pain. It's pretty good. It's something that came to me one dawning, and I just decided to write about it and share it with the family. And it really deals with the energy that you put into your rituals, but also what you put into your offerings, the energy that you put into the love and the things that you share with other people, and how whatever you do is shrouded with that particular energy. But you should definitely read that article for more information on that. But again, you want to always be working on healing your emotional body and making sure that's straight. It's very similar to the restrictions that many ilays and shrines have when it comes to women who are on their menses, and allowing them to do spiritual work or allowing them within the shrine. Many times it's prohibited. 9 times out of 10 is prohibited. And when you ask, sometimes it's hard to get a clear answer on that one. But a woman is very powerful at that time of the month when her waters are stirring that way and she's detoxing, but she also has all of this ashe that's being released, and she can direct it any way she desires, and she can make incredible things happen with that energy. So now if she goes into a shrine and her energy is not directed towards the ritual that's going on at the time, especially if she's in a shrine where she's kind of over her head and she doesn't know what's going on per se, maybe they're speaking a language she doesn't understand, or it's just advanced rituals are going on, she can actually disrupt the energy of the ritual. She can actually ruin the entire ritual without even realizing it, because her entire energetic body or even emotional body may not be on one accord with the direction of where that ritual is going. So for that reason, many times women are forbidden, if they're on their cycle, to enter into the shrines. But if you have a woman who's able to control that and to get on one accord, you can do some amazing things. I advise you all to check out a book by the name of Dragon Time. I've suggested it before, but it deals with the menses. There's a couple others, but in a coming month or coming months, I'm actually going to do a show just dealing with books and reference material. So that one will be in it, as well as some other ones. But again, when we're dealing with getting ourselves together, that's basically what we're talking about. Getting ourselves together in order to do spiritual work, we have to make sure we bring our whole being into the work, our whole being into the action. And this is the reason why with the I Knew Spiritual Training, I begin with ministry to self, which for many, I definitely feel will be the hardest phase, because a lot of people want to skip past their own personal issues and just start working with other people. And in working with other people, they're able to project their issues onto them and then solve them as far as they believe and in other people, which kind of makes them feel like they've solved them in themselves. But this is untrue. It doesn't work that way. You have to deal with yourself. This entire journey of life is based on you balancing out your own soul's karma, not necessarily coming to balance someone else's. Now, balancing someone else's karma or getting someone else equalized is a part of balancing yours. That's something different. But most people will say it is. Yeah, I'm here to help other people, but not necessarily. Your primary aim and objective is to get yourself right. So that's why phase 1 is very difficult for a lot of people. And, for students who are in it, there's a lot of struggling that goes on. And, because you're having to come face to face with some things that you may have been trying to ignore. But once you can get through those things and you go into phase 2, where you're now dealing with external entities and calling them to charge and commissioning them for certain work, you'll see how quickly and how fast now your commands work. When you're doing readings, how accurate they are now all of a sudden, how your insight is open because you've cleared the slush and the mud away from your emotional body. So that's critical. So all of this has to do, of course, with the summer solstice. Everything is connected. Now, when we're dealing with the energy of the solstice, we're also dealing with, associated with that, we have the equinox, right? You have the summer equinox, you have the fall equinox, you have the winter equinox, you have the spring equinox. So basically meaning you have 4 cardinal points that the sun reflects within the earth, and it's marked by the equinox or the change of seasons, right? And I actually broke down the vernal equinox or the spring equinox in a video. If you go into YouTube, and I think it's "What is the meaning of Easter?" If you search that, or just search my name and "What's the meaning of Easter?" something like that, I'm sure it'll pull up. And I broke down actually what the vernal equinox is, especially when we're coming out of that winter equinox. So that winter solstice is what we call it. And during that winter solstice, we have the emerging of the sun. That's when the days start to become a little longer. And what that really is if you look in many ancient traditions, during that time, that December 25th time, whether it be Saturnalia, whether it be Krishna, whether it be Mithra, whether it be Jesus the Christ, you have the Son of God or the Son of Man or the Savior being born on that December 25th. And that was really just a day that the days start to become longer now. And what that means is that light has overcome darkness. Okay, so we're just really talking about astronomy here, or even astrology, if we take it to the more occult and metaphysic meanings. But now when we come into the summer solstice, we have the sun at its highest pinnacle in the sky today at 5:04 universal time. When I say today, I'm talking about June 21st, 2013. It's Friday at 5:04. The sun was at its highest, and the day was the longest that it's going to be all year. And from here on, we now begin a slow decline. Okay, so that is the summer solstice. Now, what's most key about this solstice is a few things. Number one is there's a couple things that you can, and I recommend that you do, in order to bring in the energy of the solstice, and maximize it to the best of what it could be. Keep in mind, as I always tell you, everything that you see externally is a reflection of what's going on internally. So the sun, the physical sun, being at its pinnacle, is representative of you in this time, your journey, your spiritual journey to enlightenment, that your internal sun, or your seat of knowledge, being at its highest at this time. So it's very interesting when you look at what happens, especially in the urban communities around the summer times, right? The summertime is a time when you should really be buckling down in your studies. Okay, this is a time now you should be reading, you should be congregating and ciphering with other, we'll call believers, or other people walking in the way, other people who are part of this life, and other people who are dealing with the higher vibration. But typically what we do in the summer is we just do barbecues, and more importantly, what's sponsored by all of these different townships are all of the free concerts. So at a time when it's most hottest, and at a time when our first eye, which we know to be our brow chakra, or our Ori Iwaju, dealing with the Yoruba, at a time when that is most active and most receptive to us now taking it to the next step, going to our path of not only enlightenment, but coming from that Obatala energy coming into Shango, right? Because the sun was born December 25th. Who was the sun? Shango. Okay, so the sun is born, and now the sun is at its pinnacle of its power, or of his power, or her, right? So at a time now when you're at your pinnacle of your spiritual and mental ability, they now flood your neighborhood with free old school concerts. When they should be flooding your neighborhood with book drives, book fairs, opportunities, poetry readings even, right? So it's just kind of interesting. So not telling you don't go out and party and go to the barbecue and, have your fun and do all of those things. But more importantly, this is a time to maximize your learning. This is a time to maximize learning, because we're dealing with the sun now. Again, the physical representation being that physical sun, or that old demiurge, which we call the yellow sun, which the yellow sun is really just a reflection of a more real sun, right? And we know this when we look at the book of Coming Forth by Day, right? Now that's the old Kemetic book, the book of Coming Forth by Day. Sometimes you don't see it written as that. You'll see it called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Okay, but that wasn't really the title. It was the Book of Coming Forth by Day. But anyway, in the English translation, we see there's a scripture where there's a song being sung to Asor, right? Now Asor, we know, is translated into the Greek as Osiris, Okay, and Osiris is actually an African word too. So don't feel funny when, you know, you're having to say the Greek, which is Osiris or Isis or Horus. These are also African words. But in any event, the hymn where it says, thou shinest in the horizon, thou sendest forth light into the darkness, thou makest darkness light with thy double plume, and thou floodest the world with light like the disk at the break of day. Thy diadem pierceth heaven and becometh a brother unto the stars, O thou form of every god. Right? Now, if you didn't catch all of that, you could just rewind, or hopefully you own Book of Coming Forth by Day. But it's a very good book. You can do rituals with it too. And we get into that in phase 2 of our spiritual training, but you got to go through phase 1 first. But in any event, so now what happens is what they're saying here, they're obviously speaking about the sun, but they're speaking about really the true energy and source of that eternal fire that exists before the sun exists. Okay, in your body, that would be your first eye, or what some call the third eye, or your brow chakra, right? So the key line in that hymn or that song is when it says, thy diadem pierceth heaven and becometh a brother unto the stars. Now, diadem, we know, is a crown. That's what the term diadem means, like a crown or an adornment, but mainly a crown. So it's saying your crown pierces heaven and becomes a brother unto the stars, O thou form of every god. So every god comes from this higher sun or light that's being talked about. Thou shinest. Now, if it's saying thou shinest, it's not necessarily saying you're the light. It's saying you shine the light. Okay, that's real key here. So when it says thy diadem pierceth heaven, it's talking about the light. It's talking about the crown. It's talking about the source energy. But if it's piercing heaven, then that means it exists beyond heaven, or above and beyond heaven. Right? Remember, I always talk to you about there's the realms that exist even beyond, above heaven, and that's your true home. Okay, so here we have a reference to it in the Book of Coming Forth by Day. So it says, yeah, thou floodest the world with light like the disk at break of day. Now, that disk they're talking about is the actual sun, or what we call the sun. So it's saying you flood the world with light like the disk, but it doesn't say that you are the disk. But the disk gives an example of how the light of knowledge, information, Shango, Ra, comes and gives us that light, and more so that information and that ability to ascend further and totally through our path of enlightenment. And that's the key thing when you're looking at these various solstices, what the summer, or because we only have 2 solstices. I'm sorry, we have the summer solstice and we have the winter solstice, but then we have the equinoxes in between. But what these are really showing you is your path to enlightenment. Just like when you read the Jesus story, it's showing you the path to enlightenment. Okay, and all of these things are just astrological stories, in all honesty. Even the way that the spiral, okay, because a lot of times when we're talking about sun, sometimes we deal with Obatala too, and some will say that sun energy is really too hot for Obata to live there, but we kind of think about Obatala just being that light. When we're dealing with the Ori Opon, where we do our castings, and the eastern quadrant is where Obatala lives, and the eastern quadrant represents enlightenment. The sacred Odu Ifa that is there is the Odu of Ogbe Meji, okay, which is all light. Now, we were dealing with our I King. For those who come from that format, that would be the hexagram of heaven, okay, and that exists in the east, right, where the teachers come from. Little hint there. But in any event, so you have the sun that reaches its peak. So around this time is the time that you really need to be sharpening that first eye. Now, real quick, I'm going to give you some things for you to do, and then I'm going to loop back around to what I'm talking about here. But few steps for you to get ready, or for you to maximize the energy of the summer solstice. Number 1, you got to do a home cleanse. You have to do a home cleanse. I know we do our spring cleaning. Well, you guys probably do spring cleaning. I don't. I probably should, but I don't. But We do the spring cleaning and everything like that, but the summertime is the time when you have to do a different type of cleanse. It's real simple what you're going to do. Obviously, first clean up your home, remove the physical dirt. Very, very important. You can clean your home with hydrogen peroxide and vinegar. Okay, those are very powerful for this cleanse. You can also use ammonia, especially in the corners of places. So you only need 3 things: hydrogen peroxide, vinegar, ammonia. Okay, now while you're doing this cleanse, while you're cleaning up, and while you're just focusing your energy on that sun, the highest sun, which for you is your first eye, but it's also your Ori Iponri, your soul, the highest aspect of who you are, I want you to take a few drops of cinnamon oil. Okay, essential cinnamon oil, not the fragrant, just, but the real cinnamon oil. And I want you to take some frankincense resin. You don't need much. You only need maybe about, I say 2 tablespoons of frankincense resin, right? And you're going to put that in a little boiling pot, and you're going to put in some water, first take the frankincense, you're going to grind it into a powder as best you can with a mortar and pestle, right? And you're going to put that into a pot. You're going to boil those 2 up. And then once it starts boiling, you're going to turn it down to a simmer, and you're going to put some turmeric in there. Okay, so you're only going to put about maybe a teaspoon of turmeric. Okay, a teaspoon of turmeric in that water, and you're going to just let it simmer. And you want that to simmer for a minimum of at least 1 hour. Okay, let the whole aroma permeate your home, at least for an hour. Okay, and that's going to clean out the energy in the home. Now I'm going to give you a bath to do. Okay, I want you to do a regular bath. Now you can look on the Sedulu House website for how to prepare your baths and everything. So I'm not going to walk you through all of those different steps. For those of you who have Grasping the Root of Divine Power, my book, it also gives you some baths. So you can use the same type of steps for preparing the bath. So I don't want to waste our time with breaking that stuff down. And if you don't have Grasping the Root of Divine Power or Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, pick them both up. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take marshmallow herb. You're going to take cinnamon again. Okay, but you're going to use dry cinnamon this time, the powder. And you're going to take ginger. You can use ginger powder, or you can use real pieces of ginger, and you're going to make a bath with that. Okay, so you're going to use about a cup of each. Okay, and you're going to take a bath in that, and you can also combine 3/4 of a bag of a small bottle of Florida water with that as well. Okay, so that's going to be the bath that you're going to do for the summer solstice. Now, while you're taking that bath, as an incense I want you to burn, I want you to get some saffron, and I also want you to get some sandalwood, and I want you to mix it together as an incense, and you're going to just burn that on your charcoals. So you're going to burn that while you're taking your bath, and then you're going to also do a home cleanse, just walk around with that saffron. You're going to offer that incense to Shango. Okay, and remember, when you're calling Shango, Obakoso, Obakoso, Obakoso. The king does not hang. The king does not hang. The king does not hang. Right? Shango hanging from a tree. Christ hanging from a cross. Although the older texts say he was hanging from a tree. Interesting. So anyway, so that's the bath you're going to do. That's the home cleanse you're going to do. I also want you to propitiate your head. Now you can look on the Sedula House website again for the Ori cleanse. You're going to do the Ori cleanse for this season. And while you're doing it, I want you to focus on the solar chakra. All right. You're going to bring your energy all the way from the solar chakra, and you're going to imagine a connector going from your solar chakra to your first eye. Okay. You're going to keep that picture like if you were joining them together, like they were joining forces, the solar chakra and the first eye. Okay. That's very important. So you're going to be propitiating your head. You're going to be doing a bath. You're going to be doing a home cleanse. And more importantly than all of that, you're going to reorganize your library in this season. Okay. That's your books. That's your DVDs. That's your downloaded movies. That's your downloaded speeches. Okay. And this is a time that you're going to dig heavy into your studies. Very important. Heavy into your studies. Okay. Even so, more study than ritual. All right. More study. And I'm always big on ritual. More study than ritual. This is the time for you to get your mental sharpened. Okay. Also, keep in mind too, when we're dealing with that Obatala energy, and we know that Obatala's she's patron of that snail. And when we're dealing with the snail and even the snake, we're dealing with the spiral, right? And we know that we're told that this universe is in the shape of a spiral. Now, energy is also in the shape of a spiral. But when you also, which is really important when we're dealing with the Earth's rotational movement, around the sun, and we're thinking about the whole solstice energy and that spiral, when the Earth is rotating around the sun, it's actually, it's spiraling. It's rotating in a spiral, because the sun is moving at a really fast rate, and it has its own rotation. And the universe itself, the entire universe, the whole big package is rotating around an even bigger sun than our little sun that we have in ours. So there's always an eternal fire behind the fire. It's like those pictures that you have with the mirror, and it just goes on and on and on for eternity. Well, that's how our sun is set up, okay? But there's an eternal fire or an older or a real sun that exists beyond the sun. And this is the energy that we're getting to now with the summer solstice, or when our first eye, or when our energy and our spiritual potency and power is at its peak, because we were reborn in the wintertime. And now we have all our armaments. We're grown now. It's almost like, the baby Jesus being born in December, but now the 30-year-old who's ready to begin its ministry is here now today. Okay, so this is the time now, not for you to go out and preaching and telling everyone how much you know about this and how much you know about that, but it's really a time for you to start applying those things and to sharpening them up. It's also a time for organization. So that first eye or that Shango energy deals with organizing. Okay, so you're going to really be organizing, again, all of your literature, your shrines, making sure they don't look crazy. You don't have old burnt out candles on them. You don't have mold on them, although that's not really that big of a problem. The mold, we got into that. But you don't have just things on them, old tobacco packages, things like that when you were burning things, ashes of incense that's not going to burn anymore. But you're going to be cleaning and organizing everything, because you're getting all your tools of warfare in order for the summer solstice. This is a time now of manifestation for being what you say you're going to be. Okay, very key. So also, I want to address this Sunday, I'll be doing a live video show, which I'm going to be doing regularly now, just playing around and exploring different venues and avenues. Not totally definite on the time yet. I'm still working on that. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do a morning show, which it probably will be the morning, or I want to do a late night show, but it will probably be in the morning. Stay tuned to the Sedulu House website. Or more importantly, also sign up for the Anu newsletter, which is at anunation.org, ANUNATION.org. Okay, and you sign up for the newsletter there. Also, go to the Facebook page for Sedulu House and click like on it. When you do that, you stay abreast of what's actually happening, things like new videos, as well as, newsletters and things like that coming out, like this new show I'm going to be doing. Also, remember, this is the month for discounted classes as well as discounted spiritual readings, starting from today until the end of the month. All readings will be $40, but you have to purchase them through the whatarethespiritualgifts.com website. There you'll see a posting on the page, and you can get the discounted readings there, as well as information on the discounted classes for phase 1. You can get in cheaper now. The code for it, if you want to go straight to Udemy, is 2013 Summer Solstice. Okay, but I urge you and advise you to go through the whatarethespiritualgifts.com website, and you can get all the information you need there on that. Also, this Tuesday, 7:45 a.m., I will be on the Men's Morning Show. Okay, that's a blog talk radio show. You can check me out there. I'll be a featured guest, the Men's Morning Show. And for those who want to tune into the new video show that we'll be doing, it will be at Ustream, and that's Ustream / and the name of the show is Self-Actualization with H. Asan Anu, and there are hyphens in between each one of those words. I also put a link in this show's description as well, and on Facebook. So stay tuned. Join us there, and also sign up for classes. You can get in cheap this month and get your reading for your solstice. And until next time, peace. Pieces out of the way first. And the first thing I want to address is another good thing that's happening. We have this Sunday coming, which is June 23rd, 2013. And for those who will be listening to archives or years later, you know, you can look back, and I encourage you to look back on the events that happened, if you've forgotten, but that have happened around this time. Just do a search and, you know, see if any significant events happened in the news or whatever things, or maybe in your own personal life. I know it's not really good to date your shows and things like that. Peace, everyone. Here we are again, Foundational Friday. I'm Yuya Asan Anu on the Enlightenment and Transformation channel. And we are now coming with the energy of the Summer Solstice. Always a good time of year, of course, for those of us who love the heat, for those of us who are associated, familiar, and akin to the sun people, or the children of the sun, which is a term that has been used all throughout history in indigenous lands. This idea of being that ability that is nature's gift to us, is that it's one of the only things on the planet, if not the only thing, that can actually make us just be quiet and be still and think and be reflective, or not think, but just be still. So this is an opportunity for you to do that. Check out that moon. I definitely encourage you, for anyone who has access to the moon, whether it be through your windows, or if you have the ability to sleep outside, definitely moonbathe this Sunday. Moonbathe being just like you would sunbathe when you go out and you take your clothes off, or take off, reflective of the sun itself, or being children of the sun. And if you look upon us, then you can look upon our greater parents, which are the sun, or some call the father, or the father, mother earth. But in any event, as always, this is an exciting time, because it's a time for learning. When we're dealing now with the energy of the summer solstice, we're dealing with the energy of knowledge. Okay, most important above everything. And it's real key for us to pay attention. But before we get into that, of course, as always, I try to get the housekeeper. It's okay, I think, to do once in a while. But in any event, this June 23rd, which is this Sunday, we'll be having a supermoon in the zodiac sign of Capricorn. And the supermoon is when you have those really humongous moons that are so big, they appear as though you could just touch them. And we don't really have those often, especially one this big. This one would be like humongous. So I encourage you all to, you know, at least if not for the scenic value, but it may be a good time for meditation for you to go check it out, and, you know, just give you some time to be still. And nature has that